Good morning, students. Welcome to your English literature class. Today, we are going to revise lesson 18 from Edward's English Trail. By the end of this video, you will be able to express the story in your own words, tell the meanings of difficult words and phrases, answer the related questions, describe an event through report writing. Children, you must be acquainted with the names of Ram and Lakshman. You must have heard the stories about them from your grandparents, or you may have seen TV serials based on Hindu mythology. Our topic for today is Ramayana-the beginning. Let's read about the author. Chakrabarti Raja Gopalchari, informally called Rajaji or Siya, was an Indian politician, independence activist, lawyer, writer, historian, and statesman. Raja Gopalchari was the last Governor General of India, as India soon became a republic in 1950. He was one of the first recipients of India's highest civilian award, the Bharat Ratna. He vehemently opposed the use of nuclear weapons and was a proponent of world peace and disarmament. During his lifetime, he also acquired the nickname Mango of Krishnagiri. Students, he acquired the nickname because he opposed the use of nuclear weapons and he was a proponent of world peace and disarmament. Before we read, let's once read the introduction given in our book. Open your books at page number 145. The Ramayana is an ancient Indian epic poem which narrates the struggle of the divine Prince Ram to rescue his wife Sita from the demon king Ravan. The epic, said to have been written by Hindu sage Valmiki, narrates the life of Ram, the legendary prince of Koshala kingdom. It follows his 14-year exile to the forest from the kingdom by his father King Dashrath on his second wife Kaikeyi's request. It follows his travels across forests in India with his wife Sita and brother Lakshman, the kidnapping of his wife by Ravan, the demon king of Lanka, resulting in a war with him, and Ram's eventual return to Ayodhya to be crowned king. Now students, let's revise the summary. King Dashrath ruled the kingdom of Koshala from the capital Ayodhya. In his reign, the people were contented and virtuous. The land was so protected by a mighty army that no enemy could attack it. Dashrath's 4 sons were given all the training prescribed for princes. One day, the great sage Vishwamitra arrived to see King Dashrath. The king gave him a warm welcome. Sage Vishwamitra told him that he needed his help. 2 powerful Rakshasas, Marich and Subahu, were troubling him in performing important yajna. The sage requested Dashrath to send Ram, his eldest son, with him to end up all his troubles. On hearing this, Dashrath stood speechless, for he was stunned and bewildered. He asked Sage how a lad could protect him and his yajna. He offered him his own help, but Sage was stuck at Ram. Finally, Dashrath had to relent. Vishwamitra taught them the use of all the astras to end the Rakshasas' race. When the yajna began, Ram and Lakshman looked up and saw Marich and Subahu and their followers preparing to shower unclean things on the sacrificial fire. The 2 princes destroyed the entire army of Rakshasas. Vishwamitra was elated and he appreciated their efforts. After some time, Vishwamitra accompanied the princes of Ayodhya to Janak's court, where King Janak welcomed them happily. Vishwamitra introduced the princes to the king. King Janak told if the prince could string the bow, he would win the hand of his daughter. After obtaining permission from Vishwamitra, Ram lifted the bow effortlessly. He bent and strung it, and drew the string back with such irresistible force that mighty bow snapped with a crash like a clap of thunder, and there fell from heaven a shower of flowers. King Janak announced that his beloved daughter would be wedded to this prince. On the appointed day, the marriage was solemnized in the presence of King Dashrath and his followers, and King Janak gave away the bride. Now, students, let's discuss the word meanings. Contented, satisfied, virtuous, ethical, protected, safeguarded, mighty, powerful, prescribed, advised, directed, devoted, faithful, loyal, austerities, sternness, severe manner. Yajna, worship in Hinduism as a ritual done in front of holy fire. Relent, change one's mind. Renowned, famed, eminent. Astras, supernatural weapons with tremendous powers. Fortitude, courage in pain. Resemble, look like. Sacred, blessed, holy. Dragged, pulled, heaved. Chariot, a two-wheeled vehicle. Ancestors, forefathers. Expectations, hopes, belief. Irresistible, attractive. Snapped, fracture, break into two. Thrilled, inspired, excited. Consent, permission. Now, move on to phrases from English to Hindi. First is to rescue, which means bachane ko. From the demon, Rakshas se. From the kingdom, Rajya se. With his wife, uski patni ke saath. From the capital, Rajdhani se. By a mighty army, शक्तिशाली सेना द्वारा. From his throne, उसके सिंहासन से. Darkness of night, रात का अंधेरा. About the foes, दुश्मनों के बारे में. For a few days, कुछ दिनों के लिए. Presence of the great sage, महान साधु की उपस्थिति. Renowned warrior, प्रसिद्ध योद्धा. A great roar, बहुत ज़्यादा शोर. On the sacrificial fire, पावन अग्नि पर. A great sacrifice, महान त्याग. Eight-wheeled carriage, आठ पहिया पावन. Like a temple, मंदिर की तरह. During a festival, त्योहार के दौरान. आशा में, in expectation. Garland of flowers, फूलों की माला. Your own shadow, आपकी अपनी परछाई. Let's start reading. King Dashrath ruled the kingdom of Kushala from the capital Ayodhya. The people of Kushala were happy, contented, and virtuous. The land was protected by a mighty army, and no enemy could come anywhere near. Now, students, who ruled the kingdom of Kushala? King Dashrath ruled the kingdom of Kushala. What kind of a ruler was King Dashrath? King Dashrath was a very kind-hearted, worthy, and virtuous ruler. Students, the army was so powerful that no enemy could dare to attack the kingdom. Dashrath's 4 sons were given all the training prescribed for princes. Ram and Lakshman were especially devoted to each other, and so were Bharat and Shatrughan. How many sons did Dashrath have? Dashrath had 4 sons. What kind of a relationship did the 4 sons of the king share? The 4 sons of the king were devoted to each other They had a healthy relationship. Now students, move on to the next page. The great sage Vishwamitra arrived one day to see King Dashrath. He stepped down from his throne and advanced a few paces respectfully to receive the sage. I am indeed blessed among men, like the morning sun that dispels the darkness of night. Your face brings joy to my sight. My heart is full. Students, what was King's reaction when the great sage Vishwamitra arrived? King Dashrath felt blessed like the morning sun that dispels the darkness of night. He stepped down from his throne to receive the sage. He said that he was so overwhelmed with joy that he didn't have any words. Vishwamitra had been a king who had attained sainthood through terrible austerities. You yourself have come seeking my dwelling. Is there anything in my power that I can do for you? If so, command, and I shall obey. I am engaged in performing a sacrifice. As it nears completion, two powerful Rakshasas, Marich and Subahu, defile it. Our troubles will end if you send with me the eldest of your warlike sons. Students, what did the king Dashrath ask great sage? He asked if there was anything in his power that he could do for him. What was troubling the great sage Vishwamitra? When he was performing yagya, two powerful Rakshasas, Marich and Subahu, were defiling or spoiling his yagya. What was the purpose of Vishwamitra's visit to Dashrath's kingdom? Students, he wanted the king to send Ram along with him to end up his trouble. Let's proceed further. For a few moments, Dashrath stood speechless, for he was stunned and bewildered. How can a lad protect you and your yagya? Tell me all about your foes. I shall go with you with my army and do your bidding and serve your need. He will surely defeat these Rakshasas and his name will gather lustre. Entrust Ram to my care only for a few days. Do not refuse my request. Of Ram's safety, you need have no anxiety. Children, why was Dashrath speechless? What did he offer to do? Dashrath was speechless because the sage wanted to take Ram along with him to fight the demons. Dashrath offered to go with him along with his army to serve his need. What was the great sage Vishwamitra's reply? The great sage Vishwamitra replied that Ram will surely defeat the Rakshasas, and also he ensured Dashrath of Ram's safety. Finally, Dashrath had to relent. The two princes were then brought to the presence of the great sage. The king, the queen, mothers, and sage Vashishth blessed them and sent them with Vishwamitra. Children, Dashrath agreed to send the two princes along with the sage Vishwamitra. The king, their mothers, sage Vashishth blessed them and sent them with the great sage Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra, who had been a renowned warrior, taught the two princely pupils born to end the Rakshasa race the use of all the astras. What did the sage teach the two princes? The sage taught the use of all the astras to the two princes. Let's move further. The yagya began, and on the morning of the sixth day, there was heard from the sky a great roar. Ram and Lakshman looked up and saw Marich and Subahu and their followers preparing to shower unclean things on the sacrificial fire. Students, what happened on the sixth day of Vishwamitra's yagya? On the sixth day of Vishwamitra's yagya, a great roar was heard from the sky. Marich and Subahu were preparing to shower unclean things on the sacrificial or holy fire. They were spoiling or defiling the yagya by throwing unclean things on the holy fire. With the special astra gifted by the great sage Vishwamitra, Ram and Lakshman killed Marich and Subahu, and then the two princes utterly destroyed the entire army of Rakshasas. The sky was bright again. How did Ram and Lakshman defeat the Rakshasas? Ram and Lakshman defeated the Rakshasas with the special astra or weapon gifted by sage Vishwamitra. They not only killed the demons but also destroyed the entire army of Rakshasas. The demons were dead, the things were back to normal, and sky was again clear. Vishwamitra was supremely happy at the completion of his yajna. I am very happy indeed. I am grateful to King Dashrath. You have fulfilled the promise, princess. I admire your fortitude. Children, the sage was extremely happy after the completion of yajna. He admired the courage of the two princes. The next day, Ram and Lakshman, after their morning prayers, went to Vishwamitra and asked for further orders. Guruji, please tell us what we must do next. We await your orders. I have one duty to perform towards Ram. Vishwamitra had to complete one duty towards Ram. What was it? Vishwamitra had to ensure Ram's marriage with Sita, the daughter of King Janak. Vishwamitra knew that he still had to ensure Ram's marriage with Sita, daughter of King Janak, who in the city of Mithila was to perform a great sacrifice. The person who will lift, bend and string the bow of Shiv gifted to Janak will win Sita's hand in marriage. Now students, what was special about the bow in King Janak's palace? The special thing about the bow was that whosoever would be able to string it, he would win the hand of King Janak's daughter in marriage. In other words, Sita will be married to a man who will string the bow. So, Vishwamitra accompanied the prince of Ayodhya to Janak's court, where King Janak welcomed them happily. I am indeed blessed that you should attend my yajna. Who are these godlike youths who resemble each other? Who is the happy father of such sons? Students, where did Vishwamitra take Ram and Lakshman and why? Vishwamitra took the princes of Ayodhya, Ram and Lakshman, to King Janak's court to ensure Ram's marriage with Sita, daughter of King Janak. When Janak met Vishwamitra, he felt that he was blessed that such a great sage had come to attend his yajna. He then asked Vishwamitra about Ram and Lakshman and their father. Vishwamitra told Janak that they were the sons of King Dashrath. He narrated how they had protected his own yajna and destroyed the Rakshasas. Students, the great sage Vishwamitra introduced Ram and Lakshman to King Janak. He told that they were sons of King Dashrath and also told how they had protected his yajna and killed the demons. Many were the princes who had seen that bow and went back, unable even to move it. The prince is welcome to see the bow. If he can string it, he will win the hand of my daughter. Students, what was the reaction of other princes who had seen the bow? Many of the princes who had seen the bow had gone back because they were unable to even move it. Next is, Janak then ordered his men to bring the bow, which was kept safe and sacred in an iron box. It was brought on an 8-wheeled carriage and dragged like a temple chariot during a festival. Where was the bow kept? The bow was kept in an iron box, which was an 8-wheeled carriage and was dragged like a temple chariot. Here is Rudra's bow worshipped by me and my ancestors. Let Ram see this bow. After obtaining permission from Vishwamitra and the king, Ram stepped out to the iron bow case, while all eyes were fixed on him in expectation. Opening the box, he lifted the bow effortlessly as if it were a garland of flowers. Now, students, the bow was very sacred to King Janak. It was Rudra's bow, which was worshipped by him and his ancestors. After getting permission from the sage and the king, Ram stepped out to iron bow case. How did Ram lift the bow? Ram lifted the bow effortlessly, as if it were a garland of flowers. The bow weighed as light as garland of flowers to Lord Ram. Resting one end of it against his toe, he bent and strung it and drew the string back with such irresistible force that the mighty bow snapped with a crash like a clap of thunder. And there fell from heaven a shower of flowers. Children, what happened when Ram stepped forward to lift the bow? Ram strung the bow and drew the string back with such irresistible force that the mighty bow snapped with a crash like a clap of thunder. And there fell from heaven a shower of flowers. Students, when Ram bent and strung the bow, he applied so much force that the bow broke with a loud noise. King Chanak was thrilled that such an able and worthy noble prince has lifted the bow. My beloved daughter shall be wedded to this prince. Janak's messengers reached Ayodhya in 3 days. They met King Dashrath and said to him, Sage Vishwamitra and King Janak have sent you happy news. King Janak eagerly awaits your gracious consent for the marriage and your presence and blessings. Students, the king was extremely happy that the able and worthy Prince Ram had lifted that bow and announced that his daughter would be married to him. What happy news reached King Dashrath? Students, King Dashrath received the happy news that King Janak awaited his permission for the marriage of Prince Ram to his daughter Sita and looked forward to his presence in the wedding for blessing the couple. Dashrath and his followers reached Mithila and were received with enthusiastic welcome. My yajna will soon be over. I think it best to have the marriage as soon as yajna is over. You are the bride's father and it is for you to order things as you wish. Students, Dashrath reached Mithila and was given a warm welcome. King Janak informed King Dashrath that the marriage would be performed after the yajna got over. Dashrath told Janak that he had no objection to his decision. He was bride's father and he could order things as he wished. At the appointed day and hour, King Janak gave away the bride. Here is my daughter Sita who will ever tread with you the path of dharma. Take her hand in yours, blessed and devoted, she will ever walk with you like your own shadow. Students, the king Janak gave his daughter's hand in Ram's hand and told him that she would walk or tread with him the path of dharma. He also told him that she would walk with Ram like his own shadow. That means she will perform all the duties of a devoted wife. Students, I hope that you have understood the story. Now it is a time for creative writing. Open your books at page 157. Time to write. Today you will learn how to write a report. A report is a description of an event that has already taken place. It is a factual account of some event or happening that may have occurred somewhere but is of interest to the general masses or the readers for whom it is meant. In simple words, a report is a description of an event such as accident, a natural disaster, or a theft, robbery, sports events, celebration of important national or international days, etc. The way a report is written depends upon two major considerations. One, who the reader is going to be. Two, why she or he is going to read it. Students, while writing a report, we must keep two things in mind. Firstly, for whom are we writing the report? For example, is the report meant for children or teenagers or adults? And secondly, why she or he is going to read the report. Now, what are the points that should be kept in mind while writing a report? Firstly, comprehensive but brief, factual yet interesting. That is, it should cover all important elements like what happened, when did it happen, where did it happen, why did it happen, and its effects. But it should not be lengthy. Includes only relevant points and information. Students, a report should cover the facts, that is, you have to give exact time of the event, name of the place, exact names and number of the people involved, etc. Usually written in the third person and in indirect speech. Students, you cannot use I or you while writing a report. It is written in third person and usually in indirect speech. The passive voice is used. The sentences are written in passive voice. Language is formal, neutral, and figurative. Ornamental language is avoided. Students, while writing a report, avoid using figures of speech like similes, metaphors, etc. The tone is always formal. Past indefinite, past continuous, and past perfect tenses are used in the report. Personal pronouns are to be avoided. Journalistic vocabulary is used, words like allegedly, reportedly, etc. Students, allegedly and reportedly are words often used in reports. Allegedly means something is claimed to have taken place, but there is no proof, and reportedly means according to the report. So, we must write these words there. Logical development of ideas, that is causes, reasons, effects or consequences must be there. Opinions of the people. Content includes the when, where, why and how of the topic being written about. Children, as we discussed earlier, that it should cover all the important elements like what happened, when did it happen, where did it happen, why and how did it happen, etc. Always give a catchy headline to your report. Students, always give a catchy heading to your report. Now, there are two events that have been described in the story. One is Prince Ram's encounter with the demons Marich and Subahu, and the second one is wedding of Prince Ram to Sita. Now, we will write a report on one of these events. Let's take up the first event mentioned in the story. Students, you will follow the guidelines to write a report. Date, time, place, fierce encounter. Ram and Lakshman killed Marich and Subahu. Sage Vishwamitra performing yagya. Sixth day, demons, shad unclean things. Ram and Lakshman on guard. Destroyed the entire army with special astra. Sky was bright. Yagya performed successfully. Now students, we will elaborate these points and keep in mind we will not use first person or second person and the sentences will be in passive voice. Now we will start with headline. Headline is written in present and in capital letters. Two young princes fight demons. Yagya performed successfully. Now students, next you will begin with name of the place and date. Then you will start writing. In a fierce encounter at Siddh Ashram yesterday evening, the princes of Ayodhya, Ram and Lakshman killed the demon Marich and his brother Subahu with a horde of Rakshasas. The sage Vishwamitra was reportedly performing a yagya on the morning of the sixth day. A great roar was heard from the sky. The demons Marich and Subahu were allegedly seen preparing to shower unclean things on the sacrificial fire. The two princes, Ram and Lakshman, who were on guard, killed Marich and Subahu with a special astra gifted by Vishwamitra and utterly destroyed the entire army of the Rakshasas, and the sky was bright again. The yagya has been successfully completed and peace has been restored at the place. Now students, this brings us to the end. Now your homework is write down the report in your own words in fair copy using the given hints plus revise questions of time to answer. Thank you students.